So it's interesting, I actually saw Bella being surrendered at the Placer SPCA. I was walking by and I saw this little white dog lying in a bed set on the ground. I had no idea what we were about to discover as it related to what had happened to her. But I know that I am grateful that Dr. Early and our veterinary team were there to address her medical concerns.
She was the first dog I saw at SPCA in Roseville. She was a winner. I fell in love right away. She's adjusted super well. The neighborhood loves her. They want to know where I got her. So guess what I say? SPCA Roseville. She's just beautiful. No, she's just so much fun. She has a routine. We get up. Outside she goes. Of course, I carry her. And she's very good. She's well-trained, not because of me, but she's been a well-trained dog. And so when I tell her to stay, she waits and I fill her bowl, and then she will eat her bowl. Then we come in here and we sit and we run the music on the TV, the YouTube. It's the energizing music, but we both sit here and I drink my tea and she either sits over here or on my lap. And sometimes we both go back to sleep. And then it's time to go for our walk. And she loves her walk. Oh, Bella has rejuvenated my life. I had to put my other dog to sleep a year ago. And I thought I would never have another dog again. And then another dog came up in the neighborhood that needed a home. And so I applied, but I didn't get that dog. But it made me realize I really wanted a dog again. Thank you for saving Bella. She's had a hard time, and I'm glad I picked her up 3 days after her surgery, and she knew that her life had changed too. And as you can tell, she's very happy and contented.
Oscar is diabetic. We were actually his third family to adopt him. He had been turned into the SPCA 3 times, essentially. The very first time when he was a kitten, he was adopted out and he was returned because the family had allergies and couldn't keep him. And then he was returned a second time because he developed diabetes and the family couldn't afford to keep him. And he's such a wonderful cat. I know it had to have been heartbreaking for them to have to turn him over. But with his condition, the SPCA couldn't start him on the insulin that he needed until he went into foster, because he has to have a shot in the morning and then 12 hours again later in the evening. And with the hours and the hours that the employees are there, they weren't able to start his treatment. And they really wanted to give him a chance. So they really were looking for a foster who could take him in.
With Oscar, I knew it was going to be a difficult situation. Diabetes is so difficult to manage in a shelter, especially for a cat. When we found out that Oscar had diabetes, it felt a little defeating, until our veterinary team said, no, we need to give this a try. If we can find a foster person, and if we can find the support to get the medication that Oscar needs, we think that we might be able to treat him and then find him a lifelong home who can continue the treatment that he needs. I was so grateful that we were able to do that.
But Oscar is a wonderful cat. He is amazing. He's so quick to purr. If you just barely touch him, he starts purring. He's a head butter, which I'd never been around a cat that had done that before. We're actually pretty new to cats. We didn't realize we were cat people until we started fostering cats. And it turns out we are. So he will just come up and just kind of headbutt you and rub against you, and he's very affectionate, and he likes to be basically where we are. So he's a wonderful cat.
Caring for a diabetic cat is actually not that hard.
No.
It's a matter of just giving him the injection, and it's quite easy. They trained us, and the learning curve is not very steep, and you really can't hurt the animal as long as you're following the doctor's orders. And he's like any other pet. He just needs some medicine, that's all.
And he's worth it. He's definitely worth it. He may be a little extra work, but he's no extra trouble. Right? He has his eyes closed now.
And with Strudel, well, I can't even talk about Strudel without getting teary-eyed, as I am now. Strudel was with us, the backstory is, for months before we were able to place her up for adoption. We actually called her Dr. Strudel. Again, we treat every one of them just like they're our own. And so Strudel spent many, many days in Dr. Early's office. So it was Dr. Early and Dr. Strudel. And until we could find out exactly what was going on with her, we wanted to provide her with the diagnostic tools that we had and the care that she needed. I'm glad we were there for her as well.
The neighbors looked out, and as the truck drove away, there was Strudel standing in the middle of the street. No, they didn't leave Strudel abandoned in the household. They left her out in the middle of the street. Okay. Try not to cry. Anyway. Courtney, come on, help me keep it together. Okay, I'm keeping it together. So, a neighbor scooped her up. They drove her to the Placer SPCA, and we've been looking after her now. 7 is not young for a St. Bernard. And we discovered a mass on her abdomen. And we biopsied the mass, and it's cancer. And our doctor estimates that she's probably got a life expectancy of about 6 months.
Like, it was a no-brainer for us adopting her. I think it was when it came down to it, you know, and they found the growth, it was, well, we have to see what we can do.
Poor girl has terminal cancer, and we just knew we could give her the best home for the next couple months. This was meant to be, because she came in and there was no transition. She was part of our family, and clearly this is her house, so it was very, very easy, an easy decision, easy transition, and we hope we get as much time as we can with her.
She's that dog. She's the dog that loves you right away, and you love her back because she's sweet. She's a big sweetheart. I mean, and you can't help but feel for her. And then, you know, knowing where she came from, and the fact that the neighbors brought her into the SPCA because they cared, it just shows how much love she really has given to anyone she's come in contact with.
Strudel is very special. Strudel, as Leilani mentioned, spent the majority of her time in the shelter in my office. And the first day I came in and she was in there, I thought, oh no, they've put the St. Bernard in my office, and I'm not sure how we'll share space. But I quickly fell in love with her. She spent most of her days under my desk and would pop her head up to review my records. We did her exam. We ran some lab work initially, and then we found a large mass. We did some initial testing with just small samples and sent it to the lab and got information back that, hey, it doesn't look like cancer, and everyone celebrated and we were really excited. But something just kept bothering me that it didn't look good, and I wanted us to do a more thorough exam. So we removed it. It was a very large mass, and we sent it in for complete biopsy. And when we got the biopsy results back, it was the unfortunate news that I had worried. It was a malignant mammary cancer, and that cancer is pretty aggressive in dogs, so it certainly was not the ending that I had hoped for. But lucky for me and lucky for Strudel, thanks to all of you, that isn't where her story ended. We sent her for x-rays to make sure that right now the cancer looked like it had not spread to any vital organs. She got a clean check, and we started looking for a home for her. And her forever home wasn't going to be as long as Oscar's or Bella's, but that didn't make it any less important. We were able to find a family that took her in with open arms, all 140 pounds of her, and I could not be happier, and neither could any of the staff here, because she really special dog. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the donations that you send to us, the time that you give to our organization. It means everything, and quite literally life and death for a lot of these animals, and that's something that we can't overstate or thank you enough for.
So throughout the course of this year, there'll be hundreds upon hundreds of stories like Bella's, Oscar's, and Strudel's. And I'm just so grateful that we can count on the support of the community to really help us save lives. We look forward to your contributions tonight, knowing that you will have tremendous impact. The animals that come to us are homeless or abandoned. We are really their voice for the voiceless. We look at each animal, we build a relationship with them, we treat them just like they're our own, and we really want to be able to provide them with the care that they deserve so that they can find their forever home, be it short-term or long-term. Thank you so very, very much.